Hello, this is Juliana 2 of Viva Escrow. Welcome to my video presentation of one of the biggest threats to escrow that affect the real estate transaction, wire fraud. Fraud is perpetuated by the fraudster, and this could be anyone, anytime, anywhere, committing the crime wherever they are. First of all, let's review some basics. What is the main function of escrow? The escrow holder or the settlement agent or the stakeholder, we are the impartial, neutral third party with whom funds and documents are deposited and held in trust until mutually agreed upon conditions have been met. What are our responsibilities? We handle the receipt in of funds to close, and we send out the proceeds of the sale. Now, the funds can be in the form of cash, which come in the form of personal checks or wire, or they could be financial instruments like a seller carryback note. We also handle the transfer of documents and data in the file. Documents can be given to us in original paper form or sent to us electronically. So the term when you go into escrow, as it is used here, applies to this whole process, the practices, policies, procedures that make up the settlement process. Now, let's talk about fraud. There are a few categories of fraud. Wire fraud is the most worrisome these last few years, and this is why it is the first of the series that I am doing on fraud. Email fraud is the most prevalent. Those emails that purportedly come from someone you know, asking you to open an attachment, well, don't do it unless you verify who this email actually is from. Check fraud, it is the most public of frauds. The amounts may not be large, but writing a check to buy something and having it bounce happens all the time, and it is fraud. Personal identity fraud. This is the most harmful because this is someone pretending to be you and taking out credit cards and doing harmful things to others in your name and destroying your credibility. What is the simple definition of fraud? Fraud is perpetuation on funds that are coming in or going out of an escrow transaction. What happens? Well, this is when the instructions on how to send the funds coming in or going out are intercepted, substituted, and redirected by the fraudster. You may ask why. This is an easy one. The amounts could be thousands to hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. We are not talking chump change. The targets could be the buyer with their money coming in to close escrow, the seller with their net proceeds wired from the sale. The title company and the settlement agent collect these monies, and so they pay them according to the escrow process. It is a huge problem in our escrow industry because so much of our funds come in now by wire, and the fraudsters know this. They have come to realize that one good hack and they could be making so much illegal money. In fact, this happens not only in our escrow and title industry, it happens in other industries also. If you have the money, someone is always trying to find a way to get his hands on it illegally. Who needs to rob a bank? All a fraudster needs to do is learn to hack into the weakest link in the whole process, unsecured emails. Emails that use public servers like Yahoo, Gmail, AOL have no encryption, no security levels. They hack into it and they lie in wait, monitoring the emails that go in back and forth. The real owner doesn't even have a clue that this is happening. However, when they see emails that mention the opening or closing of an escrow, for instance, they swing into action. They take over this email pretending to be the person, substitute out their own wire instructions, and there you go. Money goes out. So, what do we do? If I were the consumer, I would certainly, the first thing, and that is call the escrow settlement agent. Confirm the wire instructions through a phone call. Not only that, they should use the number that they can find on the escrow website or on paper documents that the escrow sent. I would not trust a number on an email that goes out to you. What if it's a fake email? A lot of times, the real estate agent is the weakest link in this whole process. Their emails accounts can be hacked so easily, and the fraudster know this. So use a private domain site to host your emails, one that has encryption capabilities. For the escrow agent, there is a whole list of things that we recommend each company and each escrow officer do. First of all, make sure that emails go out encrypted or sent under secure email. Send out wire instructions directly to the recipient. Don't send it to the real estate agent and let them forward it unsecured. Leave out the bank account number. Make the recipient call you for that important number. If the escrow is sending out the funds, call the recipient to verify their wire instructions before sending it out. Use the known recipient's phone number, not the one that appears in the email. It could be a fake email also. Do not allow last-minute changes to the recipient's wire instructions. If the seller has to change the original wire instructions, I would not take them through email. I ask the sellers to come into my office and manually complete a new form. Now, sometimes the buyer is nervous about wire fraud and they want to give us a cashier's check. We will take a cashier's check, but we need to have them give it to us at least 5 days in advance, because then we get into the subject of cashier's check and check fraud issues, which I will address in another video. I would highly, highly recommend to any escrow company that they reconcile their trust bank accounts on a daily basis. What can happen? Well, one highly publicized wire fraud incident involved an escrow company which did not reconcile or look at their outgoing wires list for several days. It just so happened that during those several days, the fraudsters infiltrated their escrow accounting system and generated outgoing wires in 10,000, 20,000 increments to a tune of about 250,000 over several days. If the escrow company had looked at their bank account each day, they would have caught this fraud much faster. If you think you have been a victim of wire fraud, call your bank immediately. Call the FBI, and if there is an escrow transaction, call the escrow officer and your real estate agent. If everyone works on this immediately and no time is lost, the chances for recovery of the funds increases. The FBI Internet Crime Complaints Center, IC3, has a financial fraud kill chain process that may be able to help when the wire fraud is perpetrated. If you sent out funds internationally that is over 50,000 and you have initiated a Swift code recall within 72 hours of the wire, report it to the FBI immediately so that they can utilize their special relationships and resources with law enforcement agencies all over the world to stop the withdrawal of the funds when it hits the recipient bank. I will provide you with the IC3 website link at the end. Now, here are some tips for you to take home. First, trust no one. Question everything. Call and establish a relationship with your clients, with your escrow officers right at the start. Verify with the recipient before sending out any funds. Let them know it's coming. Verify the account number and the bank name. Do not rush into anything. Don't send the money in a rush just because someone says you will lose the deal if you don't. I know of one case in which the buyer, who was in a multiple offer bidding war, got an email from a fake escrow officer that said they had to immediately wire their good faith deposit to the escrow company in order to lock in the purchase. He rushed to the bank to do so and then happily drove home and called their agent, who did not know anything about this. In a matter of half an hour, the wired funds were already diverted into accounts out of state. In another escrow example, the fraudster pretended to be an escrow officer, contacted the buyer, and told the buyer that they would get a discount on their escrow fee if they were to wire the closing funds to this account early. The buyer, thank goodness, didn't fall for it because they called the escrow officer to verify. I tell my staff to remember it's not just outgoing wires that we need to worry about. If we know that we have funds coming in from a client, keep a lookout for it. If it hasn't come in, find out why. Be sure you check out our full wire fraud article at the website link as shown. We have other articles, not only on types of fraud, but also on other educational material on the site. And finally, here is the FBI IC3 site. Thank you, and I hope that you have found this video helpful. Remember, if you have questions, we have the answers. Thanks so much for watching, listening, and for being aware of fraud.